And now, please welcome our special guest, King Nestor. Now let's start with something simple. Tell me about your family. How are they?
Well, my son, Pisistratus, my youngest, recently actually helped out Telemachus in his journey with Odysseus, journey to find his father Odysseus, excuse me. And, he didn't show enough hospitality, but, he's still young and he's learning, just kind of hoping Zeus won't punish him for it,
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you up to these days?
Oh, kind of the usual, running Pylos, giving general advice to people, even involved in a few wars. I may be a little old and do a little bit of fighting, but I'm pretty good at strategy.
And what is it like being king of Pylos?
It's not bad. In fact, it's quite nice. Nothing as eventful as what I hear Odysseus and his kingdom had to do.
On that topic, how did you actually assume rule as king?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of a sad story. Hercules, he kind of came in and killed all my siblings. I guess it's kind of a fortunate misfortune, but it was strange because instead of killing me, Hercules seemed to trust me with the kingdom.
Interesting. Now, I know you've had some hard times in your life, but how do you think the Trojan War affected you?
Yes. Troy. Sadly, I couldn't fight because of my old age, but I did most of the strategizing, and I remember maybe it might be a bit humorous now, but back then it was quite serious. Agamemnon had stolen the girl of Achilles, and it was important for me to solve this issue to keep the unity of the Achaean army.
Right. What is your opinion on Odysseus?
Odysseus is a very noble man and a prized fighter. None better than deity himself. The only thing he needs to prevent is emotion from choosing his actions.
How about Telemachus? What do you think about him?
He's very much like his father. He might even end up being a better fighter, although he still has a lot to learn.
Do you believe that Odysseus would return to his spot on the throne?
I knew that with Odysseus' strength and brilliant mind for fighting, he was going to get home, although I didn't know how it was fated to be.
Now, I want to ask you about the gods. Who do you think you're most loyal to?
I respect all gods equally, but the most I put prayer into would be Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades.
Do you think those gods acknowledge your loyalty?
Considering I haven't been punished lately, I think that they have done that pretty well.
What about the god you fear most? Who are they?
Oh, Poseidon. I'm afraid he's going to take out his rage on anyone who helped Odysseus' family.
Oh. And what is your worst experience with an immortal?
Like I said, it was probably the murders of my siblings. However, I'm still puzzled why he trusts me. I suppose it was just fate.
Mm-hmm. How about mortals? Have you had any rivalries?
Actually, yes. After the attack from Hercules, I went to war with Elis.
Have you ever been in any mortal conflicts with the Arcadians?
Actually, yes. That was probably the most brutal and bloody war I was involved in. However, I don't think you want to hear about the details of that.
Now I want to change the subject a little here. What is the biggest highlight of your life?
I think it would be raising my children to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm. And I know this is a touchy subject, but growing up with your family, was that a bright part of your life?
Well, not really. As I've said before, they're kind of dead.
Alright, let's hear about your talents growing up. Do they still hold up to today?
As a young adult, I loved to fight in war. Actually, so much that my father feared me. But today, as I've said, I'm just too weak and old in order to do that. But I do have to stick with strategy.
Finally, before we go, I'd like to ask you about a book I've read. It's called The Odyssey. I don't know if you've ever read it, but what are your thoughts on it?
Let me just see it for a second. Huh. That's strange. But I feel it would be a little more useful if I would have had it before I knew the story.